One of the biggest traps we see smaller YouTube channels falling into is making the same mistakes over and over and over again. And it occurred to me that we hadn't really gone over what the most common ones are. We literally see these every single week. So today I thought I would sit down and take you through a whole bunch of common ones so that hopefully we can save you a ton of time and a ton of headaches in the future. Because if you continue making these same mistakes, you're never gonna see real growth in your channel. And I can attest to this firsthand because these mistakes are exactly the same things I was doing when I first started. So what I've done here is I've picked 5 channels, and all of these are ones we've actually seen before during our weekly channel review live streams. These are some channels that have already asked us for feedback in the past, and so now we're gonna dive a little bit deeper because each one is a great example of a different mistake or misconception that we've seen a lot. So in no particular order, let's start with our first example, and that is So the K Drama. The common mistake they're making is actually kind of a newer one on the list because they are making YouTube shorts, and in a lot of cases, these shorts don't stand on their own. In fact, if you zoom in on this, you can see that there's actually a call to action in the video itself inviting the viewer to go somewhere else to see the full video. Why is this even bad? Well, if you're making YouTube shorts, it's really important to respect the shorts viewing audience. When viewers are watching shorts, they're in a different mindset or mode, so it's incredibly difficult to get them out of the shorts flow and then over to your long form videos in that particular watch session. And that's because shorts viewers are just kind of looking for a quick hit of dopamine. For a lot of them though, there may come a time when they're a little more ready to settle in front of the TV or their tablet and watch long form videos. That is when your long form videos hopefully get recommended to them because they're already a fan of your incredible shorts. So here's what you do instead. I want you to make a YouTube short that's about 20 or 30 seconds long. It can even be a piece of a longer video. Remake this for YouTube shorts. Focus on one simple point. Give these viewers an interesting fact or something to laugh at. As long as what you're making on your YouTube long side of your channel, your shorts viewers, at least the ones who want to watch long form videos, will jump over because YouTube will recommend your long form videos to those shorts viewers. It's important to keep in mind though, that sometimes there are just shorts viewers. There are people who use YouTube and just want to watch shorts. So in that regard, you're really not losing anything by making shorts, right? Because you're catering to an audience you wouldn't have had anyway. The next channel we're looking at is called Lil P66, and they were making a very common mistake with their thumbnails. At the time of reviewing their channel, their thumbnails were incredibly hard to read, with a very interesting font choice, and in some cases, red text that blended right into the background. While the thumbnails themselves are of a very high quality in terms of the elements being used and how they're being used, when you get them down to thumbnail size, that's when it gets very hard to focus and it takes you a long time to see what the video is really going to be about. This is a problem because when people are browsing YouTube, they're kind of just scrolling and scrolling. They're not going to take the time to stop in your videos and try to decipher them. The red text mistake is something we talk about a lot as well because red text is just notoriously difficult to read in most circumstances. We recommend you stay away from red in those cases and you try to use colors that are going to create a really nice contrast between the text and whatever's behind it. Shout out though to Lil P66, who's made some really nice changes to their thumbnails since our channel review. I love the font choice. I think these are much easier to read. John Newer is our next channel, and this one's pretty interesting. At the time, we did give them some pretty general tips about titles, thumbnails, things like that, but during this review, we were actually inclined to click into one of the videos. The big mistake John was making was lighting, and as you can see in this particular video, the background is actually really cool looking, but John is blending right into it. In fairness, not all of John's videos are like this, and we may have clicked into a video that was uploaded on a bad day. But having bad lighting is just one more thing that we see a lot. So this comes down to skilling up as a creator. Watching videos like this one is important, but do not forget about the other production side of the YouTube creation process. Find yourself some courses or tutorials on various elements of YouTube that you feel like you could improve upon, whether it's lighting tutorials or thumbnails using a Photoshop tutorial, anything of the sort. Every skill you develop as a creator directly impacts the content that you create. For example, if you want to be a car mechanic channel, that's going to be pretty hard to do if you don't fully understand how to mechanic cars. I'm going to throw you a curveball, and we're going to talk about a channel that actually isn't making a lot of mistakes here at all. This is Wheel Spins 360, and they're a relatively new creator. I'm including this channel for a very specific reason. Look at their first video. Well over 1,000 views on their first video, and their latest videos are also doing quite well. So why are they on my list? Well, they're here to prove a point. One of the biggest misconceptions we see from small channels on YouTube is this idea that YouTube hates small channels. This channel is targeting a specific audience and making value-driven content for that audience. Their titles and thumbnails are of an incredibly high standard, and it makes me feel like this probably isn't their first YouTube rodeo. So if you've ever felt like you needed a certain level of fame to get anywhere on YouTube, That's not the case. All you really need is the right skills, a good amount of focus, and some patience, and you too can see similar results. Now I'm going to use a channel called Shubro Plays to demonstrate what I believe is one of the largest mistakes creators make when they're first starting out on YouTube. And that mistake is creating content with an incredibly low barrier to entry. This is a gaming channel that does long-form walkthroughs of video games that they're playing. Each video is about 45 to 60 minutes long, and they seem to be just parts of one very long playthrough. The reason I say this content is a low barrier to entry is because they're not doing anything that another channel couldn't easily replicate. And believe me, a lot of channels are replicating this strategy. Any new creator can simply buy a new game, press record on their capture software, and get a little bit of commentary as they just simply play through it and then upload it with little to no editing. In the case of this channel, the titles and thumbnails also really aren't doing much to demonstrate any specific value in any one of these videos. If you want to stand out on any space on YouTube, but especially gaming, you have to bring more to the table, especially now. Start with a game or a topic that interests you, and then start doing research to figure out where the audiences of those similar interests are on YouTube. Show them secrets, take on challenges, look for trends in your space. Just simply playing a game is exactly what this audience is going to do as soon as they buy it for themselves. However, your videos in this case could help these people who are playing the game with various parts. Maybe they're having trouble with a boss fight. Maybe they can't find the puzzle solution to a certain area in the game. And that's what I mean by offering value. That kind of content is very specific, it serves a very specific purpose, and it is for a specific type of person. Speaking of providing value, this video right here is going to help you get some more views the next time you post some videos.